Okay, so what if I told you that the world map you've known your whole life is incomplete? I mean, seriously, that there's this massive piece of the puzzle, a whole hidden continent that's just been missing? Well, guess what? Today we are officially adding an eighth continent to our maps. So let's just dive right in.
All right, take a look at this number, 94%. Just let that sit there for a second, 94. What in the world could that possibly be?
Well, that is the percentage of our planet's eighth continent that is completely, totally underwater. And right there, that's the core mystery, isn't it? How could a landmass, we're talking something nearly the size of Australia here, stay hidden from us for centuries?
So how do we even start to solve a puzzle like that? Well, first things first, we've got to think like geologists. Because, before you can find a lost continent, you have to agree on what a continent actually is.
So yeah, what makes a continent a continent? It sounds so simple, right? We just picture these huge chunks of land, like Africa or South America. But for scientists, the definition is way more strict. It goes much, much deeper than just what you can see on the surface. See, the real key is the geological definition. It's not really about whether the land is above water, it's all about the kind of rock that's underneath it, this stuff called continental crust. And you gotta pay attention to that little phrase in the definition, primarily above sea level. That's it. That's the scientific loophole that made this whole crazy discovery possible. Okay, so this definition basically gives scientists a super strict three-point checklist. First, the land has to be way higher than the ocean floor around it. Second, it's got to be made of that thick continental crust, not the thin stuff you find on the bottom of the ocean. And finally, number 3, it has to be a really big, distinct area, geologically speaking. You tick all 3 of those boxes, boom, you found yourself a continent. So armed with that checklist, scientists basically started on what turned out to be a 100-year-long detective story. They were hunting for clues scattered all over the South Pacific. The first hints actually popped up way back in the 1920s, but the real hunt, that didn't kick off until 1995, all thanks to some new seafloor mapping data. Then, fast forward to 2017, this is when things get really interesting. Scientists started dredging up rock samples from the bottom of the ocean, and they were continental rock. That's when they formally proposed the existence of Zealandia. And then just in 2023, using some incredible satellite data that can actually map gravity, they finally pieced the whole picture together. And I think this quote from one of the lead geologists just sums it all up perfectly. This is an example of how something very obvious can take a while to uncover. I mean, how great is that? The evidence was literally there the whole time, hiding in plain sight. But it took a century of new technology and just plain stubborn curiosity to finally see what was right in front of them. So, after 100 years of searching and some serious hard science, the ghost on the map was finally revealed. The mystery was officially solved. Yep, as of 2023, the puzzle is finally completely put together. For the first time, the scientific community can now map the true shape of Earth's 8th continent. And here she is, Zealandia. So let's talk stats. It's a whopping 4.9 million square kilometers. To give you some perspective, that's about 6 times the size of Madagascar. And yeah, we know that 94% of it is underwater, so what are those little bits that poke out above the waves? Well, you probably know them as New Zealand and New Caledonia. Its highest point is Mount Cook. And get this, about 5 million people call it home, and most of them had no idea they were living on a nearly sunken continent. How wild is that? Okay, so discovering a brand new continent is obviously amazing, but you might be sitting there thinking, all right, so what? Why does this matter? Is this more than just a really cool piece of trivia? Well, for starters, this literally forces us to redraw the world map. That's a huge deal, but it's so much more than that. Zealandia is like this perfect natural laboratory. By studying it, we can understand how continents form and break apart in the first place. It holds secrets about ancient plants and animals from the age of supercontinents. And it has very real-world consequences for things like managing ocean resources. So really, finding Zealandia isn't about closing the book on some old mystery. It's about opening a brand new chapter in the story of our planet. It just reminds us how dynamic and alive the Earth really is. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? After all this time, after all our technology and exploration, we just officially mapped an entire continent. So, What other secrets is our planet still hiding? What else is out there, waiting to be found, just beneath the waves?